Wow. Good evening.
Good evening.
This is what you call a rainbow. Hello and welcome to Gracie Mansion. This is the people's house. This is your house. And you are always welcome here. Now, our family doesn't actually live here yet, but we're working on it. We hope to move in this summer, and we look forward to hosting many wonderful parties like this. Although we might have to get a bigger place, Bill. I know the mayor is going to speak in a little while, but so much has happened in this last week that I really want to give him a special round of applause for what he's accomplished in these last 6 months. We've got... in addition to getting the budget done, we've got universal pre-K, we've got after school for our middle schoolers, we've got municipal IDs. I could go on all night. Please, give him another round of applause. It is still so hard for me to believe that I'm standing here. You know, I came to New York in 1977. I wanted to work in the publishing industry. I wanted to write. And of course, I was looking for love. Now, I was just 22 years old. I had $35 in my pocket. And let me tell you, those first few months were just exhilarating and terrifying. Everything was big and bright and breathlessly fast. And I was such a country mouse. But I was lucky. I had some really good friends who lived here, and my New York friends took me in, they advised me, and they introduced me to Gay NYC. Now, in preparation for moving, I'm starting to go through all my old stuff, and oh, the treasures I'm finding. You know, poetry and memorabilia from past gay pride parades and parties. I actually found a journal entry noting that I went to my first Salsa Soul Sisters meeting with Salsa Soul members in the front row. Hello. I went to my first meeting with Yolanda and Yvonne and Audre Lorde. Right? That was a moment. I have newsletters, I have photos. I even have somewhere the membership card presented to me by the Sisters of Salsa Soul after I wrote the often referred to article in Essence magazine in 1975. Often. I want you to know that the Sisters of Salsa Soul stamped my membership card forever. What a celebration we had at that meeting. And Salsa Soul, for those of you, some of you may not know, was an organization for lesbians of color. And it was such a fascinating organization with so many remarkable women. And what I loved about it was that there were women really from all walks of life. I mean, in terms of class and race, and it was fascinating. We didn't call it networking back then, but that's what it was. And if I was looking for a woman who was gay and black or Latina or just Asian, whatever, and worked as a financial consultant or doctor or carpenter or chiropractor or whatever, you name it. All I had to do was put the word out and I could find someone. So that's why I don't buy it when people say it's difficult for them to bring diversity into the ranks of their boards or businesses. Thanks to a network that was based in a church basement in the village in the 70s, I could find diversity. So I know boards and big businesses with access to a worldwide web of contacts can find it now. Anyway, I will never forget the Sisters of Salsa Soul, what I call my first New York family, and I'm so glad that so many of them are here tonight. And you can cheer. It's been more than 35 years since I moved to New York, and things are so much better for the LGBT community. I know that if the pioneers of the gay movement could come back and see what has happened, they would be so proud. But I also know they would not waste time. Excuse me. I know they would not waste time patting themselves on the back. Thank you. Oh, thank you, darling. He's such a sweetheart, right? That's why I married him. We still have so much work to do. And we are warriors. We don't stop fighting until the victory is won. So that means securing marriage equality in every state in the country. That means speaking out against bigotry whenever and wherever it rears its ugly head. And that means never forgetting, not even for a second, that we are all members of one race, the human race. It is now my pleasure to introduce two very dear friends, Cynthia Nixon and Christine Marinoni. Christine and Cynthia were early supporters in the mayoral campaign. I mean, when the poll numbers had us at 4%, they were in with us. And yes, let's hear it for the early supporters. They are both powerhouse activists in their own right, but when they join forces, they are downright unstoppable. Our friendship has only grown stronger since Election Day, and we are so lucky to have them working with us, helping us to bring the dreams of the campaign into reality. Christine is now an official member of the team. Her title is Special Advisor for Community Partnerships at the Department of Education. That means she's putting her expertise, her legendary expertise and experience to work on behalf of all of our children. And Cynthia is one of our most knowledgeable and passionate ambassadors. Just a few days ago, she agreed to serve on the board of advisors for the Mayor's Fund to Advance NYC. Isn't that wonderful? It's so great for New York that both of them are so deeply involved, and we are not going to be shy at putting them both to work. So Cynthia and Christine, would you please come up and share a few words? Thank you all.
My lovely wife has been so gracious as to let me go first, which is good for me and for all of us. I have my speech actually ensconced in the commencement program from our daughter's earlier graduation. She just graduated from high school. Today. So a shout out to Samantha Persephone Moses. Way to go. If she can get through 12 years of schooling, I can get through this speech, I hope. Welcome everybody and happy Pride. It makes me more happy than I can tell you to be celebrating Pride here, not just from any old Gracie Mansion, but from the de Blasio's Gracie Mansion. Because Mayor Bill de Blasio gets us. He gets our community. He is our friend and our ally. In fact, he even married one of us after all. And I'm so glad he did. I can't imagine a better First Lady for New York City. I've known and greatly admired Bill for more than 15 years now, and so when I heard he was running for mayor, I was ecstatic. And I knew I was going to do everything I could do to help him get elected. But I was somewhat taken aback when in the fall of 2012, he asked me to head up his women's committee. I thought, women's committee? Me? I'm a bulldagger. I'm not a woman. But the thing is, as always, Bill was right. Not only am I a woman, but the women's committee was the perfect place for me. Bill sees things that other people don't, sometimes obvious things. Sometimes he sees things we don't even see in ourselves. And he knows people aren't only one thing. And that sometimes, whether you're a woman or a man or gay or straight or trans or black or white, maybe there are other qualities that trump what we look like. For example, like what we believe in. Bill showed us, and political pundits across this country that what we believe in can trump identity. And he showed it to us in a landslide kind of way. In those early campaign days, Bill's right-hand power lesbian, Emma Wolf, who, as usual, is trying to hide behind everybody. Emma, who does such a fabulous job of representing for our community, she would periodically ask me in her Jimmy Stewart kind of way. Cynthia thinks Emma is very like Jimmy Stewart, and I think she might be right. She would ask me, so what do you think? Do you think we should try to organize the LGBT folk? And I would say, no, are you crazy? They've already got their candidate. But then all these queers kept showing up at the women's committee meetings and appearing out of the woodwork. They were so excited that a true progressive was in the race, and they were ready to turn it out for Bill. It seemed too good to be true. But we took them at their word, and last summer we threw the gayest, outest, draggiest, LGBTQist political fundraiser ever thrown on this planet or any other planet. Had the mayor not been so insanely behind in the polls, they probably would not have let Lady Bunny and Charles Bush and Flotilla DeBarge and Alan Cumming and John Cameron Mitchell and Michael Cavadias and Nora Burns and Betty and Sarah Paulson and Justin Vivian Bond and my wife do and say all those crazy things they did and said that night. But as I ordered my 10th gin and tonic, to ease the sheer panic that I was experiencing about what was happening on stage, I would sneak a peek over at Bill and Chirlane and see that they were totally at ease, having the time of their life. They might have been in a panic, but they weren't showing it. Bill even told Flotilla DeBarge, who's here tonight, that she was going to have to be the head of his security detail after her fierce rendition of Don't Mess with Bill. It was then that I really knew Bill and Chirlane were with us, and they could handle anything that came their way, because they didn't care what form things and people came in. They loved and appreciated all of it. What they did care about was that we were all in this fight together to make sure the New York we knew and loved, with a fantastic tapestry of people of all incomes and races and genders and identities, were able to keep living in it together, and we're able to thrive and be happy. I'm going to stop now and turn the mic over to my lovely wife, who's going to tell you a little bit more about what our mayor has done already to fulfill this beautiful vision. Thank you.
So, Bill has arrived, and I think that it's fair to say that the LGBT community has too, so we have a lot to celebrate this Pride. After a long and sometimes bloody struggle for us to gain acceptance and power, we are finally at the table, undeniably. We are far from having everything we want, or we need, or we should get, but at least now we have an undeniable voice. And the strength and clarity of that voice means we can fight not only for ourselves, but for others as well. We can elect someone like Bill because he's great on our issues, but also because he cares about other things that we care about, like economic justice, or racial equality, or affordable housing, or universal full-day pre-K. It is important, however, to remember that we still have a lot of issues in our own backyard that we are facing. From homeless LGBT youth, transphobia, street violence and harassment, and the need for continued and really increased AIDS vigilance. Before I turn over the mic to Bill, which I will in a minute, I want to mention a few of the most important things he's done for our community. And the thing that strikes me about them is that they run the gamut of the past, present, and future of what our community has faced and continues to face. Firstly, I applaud Bill and Chirlane for their refusal to march in non-inclusive parades. It may seem like a small thing, but it is vitally important, and it speaks volumes to the outside world. Second, Bill has budgeted for fully funded HASA, which if you don't know what that is, it is the 30% rent cap for low-income New Yorkers living with HIV and AIDS. Something we have been fighting for a long time. And that was passed at the state level in a wave of progressive excitement after Bill was elected. AIDS is far from over, not only in the third world, but in our own city. And we need to protect PWA housing because it's the morally right thing to do, and also because we cannot forget these members of our community, many of whom were in the forefront of the LGBT struggle and who need our help more now than ever. Third, Bill has ended stop and frisk. And while the focus of this issue was primarily in communities of color, LGBT leaders also praised this action as stop and frisk was a growing issue in LGBT communities, especially for gay men and trans women. And lastly, Bill has budgeted 100 new crisis shelter beds for runaway and shelter youth, a quarter of which are earmarked for LGBT youth. As AIDS was the call to arms for the previous generation of LGBT people, these young kids living on the streets, many trans, many surviving as sex workers, need to be the call to arms for our generation. Now, a lot of people make jokes about Bill's height. It's very hard not to. But sometimes I think, fancifully, that maybe Bill is so tall because he has to contain so many communities inside of him. Which makes me think, today especially, of Walt Whitman, who said, as Bill easily might have, "I am large. I contain multitudes." Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, everyone. This is an incredibly exciting evening, and to have everyone here together, marking the passion, the energy, the activism that has led to the victories you heard about. I want to talk about the individuals here, but I want to set one thing straight, because I think you have to understand, all of us have to understand history. We'll not set it straight, we will make it correct. I'd like to say something correctly. People get elected and they take actions, people are leaders, but the real energy, the real change in this world comes from the grassroots. Let's start with that. And the victories that we have been talking about this evening, the changes we're making for our people, happen because people here tonight fought for them for years and you finally won, and God bless you for that. All right, I got to talk about some people, but I'm going to keep it quick, but I got to talk about some people. So, Christine Marinoni, if you have not fallen under her spell yet, and you haven't been organized by her and told what the right thing to do is, and find yourself suddenly doing it, well, you're in for a treat. Christine Marinoni, I first met her as an education activist. I saw that whatever she touched, things happened, energy happened, people moved forward. And she was an incredible force in our campaign, doing what some thought impossible. And now she's doing something absolutely necessary for the city of New York. She's on the front line of making sure we have full-day pre-K for every child in this city. Cynthia Nixon, I don't understand something about Cynthia Nixon. She could just go and do that acting thing all day. She's very good at it, apparently. And you'd never see her anyplace else, and everyone think that was normal. But she insists on being an activist on a whole range of issues. And then 2012, 2013 came along, and she literally didn't have, there was no setting to Cynthia Nixon for the notion of I'm going to be involved just a little, or I'm going to hedge my bets. The phrase all in is defined by Cynthia Nixon, and she said, we're going to win, and she willed it to be so. And I can't thank you enough, and I can't thank Christine enough. And then let's talk about Chirlane Mccray. How could I not fall in love with Chirlane Mccray? You just saw her. I say to everyone, I met her one day at City Hall. There were violins playing. There was a thunderbolt hit me. I heard angels singing. I did not ask her for an identification card. I just fell in love with her. Guess what? It all worked out. But she's an extraordinary leader. And she is someone who, from the first moment she came from this city, she wanted to make it better. She wanted to uplift people. She wanted to energize people, organize people, represent those who weren't being heard. Now she has a little bit bigger platform for doing that. And she is going to redefine what a First Lady is in this city and do extraordinary things for all of us. Let me talk about some of the wonderful members of our administration here. I'm going to just list them all out, and you can clap for them all together. First of all, I did not know we have a new title for Emma Wolf, Power Lesbian. And subtitle, Director of the Mayor's Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. Want to thank our Probation Commissioner, Ana Bermudez, our Aging Commissioner, Donna Corrado, our Citywide Administrative Services Commissioner, Stacy Cumberbatch, our President of the Economic Development Corporation, Kyle Kimball, and the CEO of NYC and Company, Fred Dixon. I think we should have a word from our sponsors, don't you? All this wonderful food and drink and everything doesn't just happen. So let's thank the people who supported this event and made it happen. Let's thank TD Bank. Let's thank leaders in our ever stronger film and television industry, Broadway stages. And everyone in this audience looks fabulous, which means you probably are already using Kiehl's products. And let's thank them for being a sponsor tonight. I know what you're thinking, but Bill, what kind of entertainment have you provided? Well, we provided DJ Mary Mack. It doesn't get better than that. Come on, take your... our turn. You know, I said to DJ Mary Mac, couldn't you get a few more tattoos on your arms? You'd be hipper if you did. From the labor movement to International Union Presidents Randy Weingarten and Stuart Applebaum. Thank them for being here. We had a great leader of this city here before. She had to go on to other things, but she was here with energy and passion, our public advocate, Tish James. From the state Senate, Brad Hoylman, Liz Kruger, and Gustavo Rivera. From the New York State Assembly, Danny O'Donnell and Deborah Glick. From the New York City Council, Rosie Mendez, Corey Johnson, Jimmy Van Bramer, Danny Drum, Carlos Menchaca, and Richie Torres. That was like the beginning of Saturday Night Live. It was so jazzed up. Everyone liked everyone. This celebration kicks off a big weekend, a big moment each year for all of us. Something very cool this year. We let City Hall, reached out to city agencies. We said, if you'd like, it's a very special week in New York City. You could take your New York City logo, your agency logo, and you could paint it rainbow. So go and check out your favorite agencies with their new look logo. And we look forward to the parade. The Brooklyn Parade happened already because we're always ahead of things in Brooklyn. But the Pride Parade means so much to all of us. It means so much to our family. If you were there last year and you saw Chiara de Blasio's sequin dress, you will not forget it. It was one of the high points of the parade. But our family celebrates Pride because it is part of being a New Yorker, embracing all of us to celebrate Pride. It is quintessentially New York to celebrate Pride. And yes, it's fun, and yes, it's energetic, and it's social, but let's remember, we all know it was born in struggle. It marks a history of struggle, going back to 1969 at the Stonewall Inn. And that spirit of not accepting exclusion, of not accepting second-class citizenship, that spirit has to be alive every single day until the mission is done. So Pride is, by definition, a celebration. And Pride has to be a re-energizing moment. It has to be a moment where we sign up again for another year of fighting what's right. Now, you heard from Chirlane and Cynthia and Christine, the victories, you know, if you step back and think about it for a moment, you could be really, really pleased. Anyone would have to be pleased. Just the progress on marriage equality alone be enough to, like, all of us could retire on that alone. And it's been fast and it's been breathtaking, but again, it was decades in the making. And as amazing as it is, there's still more states that don't have it than have it. So it's that same duality. So much progress, so much to do. Use the moment to refocus us. Marriage equality has to be everywhere in the United States of America, period. The commitment to fighting anti-LGBT violence has to be everywhere in this country. I know the Congress isn't so interested in mundane things like legislating lately. But if they were legislating, they would be passing a national law protecting LGBT people from discrimination all over this country. And so, as in so many other situations, we in New York City, in other cities around the country, in other states, we have to show how it's done. We have to lead the way. We have to paint the picture. Our victories will become infectious and energizing. We will create a positive inevitability by what we do. And here in New York City, after the years and years, I can't tell you how many times I was told we couldn't get more funding for runaway and homeless youth, that it would never rise to a priority. I'll tell you why it needs to be a priority. Because a lot of these kids have been put out of their own house by their own family, and that is unacceptable. And we don't leave them on the streets. I've spoken about this as a parent. I don't understand any parent. I don't care what values they happen to have been brought up with. I don't understand any parent who would treat their own child that way instead of embracing them and loving them and including them and respecting them. So sometimes we have to do it if a family won't do it. We have to save that children and uplift those children. And yes, I was told many times that a 30% rent cap for people with HIV and AIDS was impossible to pass in Albany. Nothing is impossible if you organize people to get it done. And a lot of people in this room never stopped organizing, and now it's done. So I'm ready. I'm ready to go forward. Are you ready to go forward? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Are you ready to go forward? Much better. I'll finish with this, which I think everyone standing around me here understands. I think everyone out there understands. A great, great New Yorker who wrote about LGBT life when it was still a profoundly revolutionary thing to do, James Baldwin. James Baldwin said a simple phrase that describes everything we just talked about tonight. He said, "Those who say it can't be done are usually interrupted by others doing it." And so we move forward together. Thank you, and God bless you.